More good news, Spencer.
Oh, yes?
Since last episode, I have another acceptance.
Nice.
I got accepted into the Siren's Call Halloween edition, issue 67. I wasn't going to submit to that because I felt like getting into it once was enough, but I had an old story that I knew would be a good fit for the Halloween edition, and I actually went back and rewrote the story because I had it on my website for free. I took it off the website, obviously, because, it's going to get published now, but I fluffed it up, made it a lot better, I think, and then, I got the acceptance and no edits.
Nice.
They already sent me the finish, what it's going to look like, and I'm like, goo.
Looks good.
Yeah, so that's something to look forward to. You submitted to them as well.
I got the thank you for submitting to us, email, and we'll get back to you shortly.
Hopefully you can get into that, and then we'll both be in the same thing.
Yeah.
Though both of ours are flash fiction.
Yeah.
So short pieces, so nothing to really write home about, but it's cool just to have something coming out. But for me, I actually didn't need it this time because this comes out the end of October, and so does another
with like 5 other things.
They
didn't know that was gonna come out.
I'm in the as I talked about in the opening of last week's episode, the Dragon Soul Press's Beautiful Darkness Volume 3, my big long story that comes out October 30th, so also the last week of October. So it's like, which one do I promote the most? The one that's paying me.
Yeah. Yes, that one.
No offense, Siren's Call, but you're not giving me the dollars, so I'm just going to be like, hey, I'm in this. But I'm going to be more excited about the 15,000 word story, not the 800 word or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't even think it's that much. Any cool news on the horizon for you? Have you written anything on the page?
I think I finally did, after the gym today, finally hammered out the last couple paragraphs of that one story that I was working on, and now it just needs the edit process to begin.
Nice.
Which I was thinking about trying to get started on that before coming up to here, but then I had to put some food in my gullet before coming up and stuff like that. So hopefully tomorrow I'll be able to start the editing on that and maybe try writing some, maybe try to spend like a half an hour or so doing some edits, and then maybe try working on something else, spread it up a little bit so it doesn't get too monotonous. Yes.
I think you were close.
Yeah.
I think you're at the end. Monotonous. Anyway, we'll talk more about this because today's going to be a DBS.
Yeah.
I just realized it hasn't been much of a DBS.
Been a while.
Yeah, it's been a minute.
Well, you've had a day to day.
Yeah, I didn't feel like doing any research on anything or deeply thinking about anything important. Just being angry.
Yeah.
Which I was. So Caleb is going to take a minute for these beautiful introduction sounds from the seascape, cityscape, windscape. I don't know, some kind of scape. Whatever our music is, I don't know.
Mindscape?
What is our music? Like a space? Fuck, is it? It's not lo-fi. What the fuck is it? Chill vibe? Something
like that, yeah.
I can't remember the genre that we got this license-free music from. I also forget the guy's name, which kind of sad because he let us use it for free.
Yeah.
It's been a long time, and he's a Pittsburgh-based guy, too.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yes. Yeah, so listen to these musical introductions, and I'll try to come up with something worth saying. You are listening to the Drunken Pen Writing Podcast. I'm your host, Caleb James. With me today, Spencer, the Gatlinburg Gooch Grazer Church.
So many questions, like, where's Gatlinburg?
I was trying to remember if that was a real place. I think it's Tennessee.
Oh.
I think it's Gatlinburg. There's got to be a Gatlinburg somewhere. And you're grazing gooches. So that's what you are. It's what you're doing. Now you're using your tongue.
Oh.
And also fuck my butt. What? So, Spencer, we were discussing things, and I forgot everything I ever wanted to say, so...
Oh, yeah?
We could just end this episode, A good
4 minutes in,
Yeah, after I edit one. Let's see. I already discussed my wonderful publishing news. I still am waiting to hear back from a bunch of places and things and such. I'm tired as fuck, and I'm a little angry. kind of peckish. Oh, I'm riddled with poison ivy.
You always get the poison ivy.
Every part of my body part that's not clothed is poison ivy. I don't know how I even got it. I wasn't anywhere near poison ivy. I must have been working in the garden. Fucking sucks. I hate it. I hate it hard. So that's been making my life a pleasure.
So are you super allergic to if it's just in the air? Can you you know what I mean?
I don't think I'm allergic, but I do get
Or,
very itchy.
You're sensitive, ultra sensitive to it, you know?
I get it all the time very easily, it seems. Maybe according to Mindy, it's because I touch myself a lot, because I always get it on my dick and balls area.
But that just means that's where you're spreading it. That's not why you're getting it so much. That just explains why your fucking dick and balls are so fucking itchy and look weird.
Makes it swell up, looks bigger. But you can't use it for anything. Imagine a poison ivy dick going inside you. That would be awful. You'd get itchy from the inside out. That'd be terrible.
It's just for show.
Yeah, this is a good time to mention we got some more guest requests I need to get back to, so we'll probably be having more guests on it. I'm actually putting off the guest, which I told the said guest, because you might be changing your day of work.
Yeah,
from Monday, having Sunday and Monday off to Saturday and Sunday, which would change our Monday recording.
Right.
I mean, we don't have to, but just to be kind, it would be easier to just do it on the Saturday you're off.
Right.
And also, it'd be nice for me, for a change, to be able to record on a day I didn't fucking work all the time. Maybe I'd actually be witty and, intelligent for once.
And that'd also give you an extra day off to do the editing and stuff too, if you wanted.
Yeah, or I could become so lazy that I record the week's episode on Saturday, edit it Sunday, and put it out.
Yeah.
Instead of being a week ahead, I'm just extra behind. As far as writing projects, because we discussed this off air briefly, since I just turned in, I didn't check to see if I got paid yet. I think I'll be getting paid here soon. But I signed a contract for that invite only thing I'm in. I don't know if I can announce it because they've been doing promos for it. It is called Violent Adverts. It is a Christmas tree themed horror anthology. By Christmas, we might have discussed this on here, I don't remember, but you had to write a story where a Christmas tree, like a detestable Christmas tree or something along those lines, is the general theme. So most common one is you got an evil tree in your house, right?
Yeah.
But people were taking it as I think one writer wrote about a Christmas tree farm where there's a serial killer loose. Or, it didn't have to be that strict.
Right.
But you just have to have a Christmas tree involved somehow. So it was a little limited in that regard. I ended up going with a Christmas tree painting that's a logo for a Red Room Syndicate kind of thing, where it's people online and a torture kind of deal, a dark room,
snuff kind of stuff.
Yeah. So and that's the logo is I called them the Yuletide Squad, and it's just a bunch of fucking tech bros who watch poor innocent girls get murdered. Well, not just girls, anyone get murdered, tortured, all that shit. They're females in my story because that's the story I was writing before I changed it to Christmas tree. Because I was already writing the story before. It's called Maggot Party, by the way. So that comes out in December. So that's cool that now, because I finished it, did the edits last week, turned that in over the weekend, and now that's done. And that was the main thing holding me up because I actually wrote a full story for this anthology.
And then just didn't like how
took a month, and I just did not like the ending at all, and I just didn't know how to rework it in a way.
And it was getting out of the word count area.
I think I was fucking with the word count. I was I had to start speeding things up that I didn't want to speed up.
It could probably still be a decent story given enough room or what, you know.
And if I just got rid of the dumb Christmas tree as the main, it was dealing with other dimensional god fucking cosmic horror type of things, but I used the Christmas tree as a portal.
You're right.
I would rather just go cursed Christmas tree or something, or honestly I wouldn't even want the Christmas tree in it if it was just a standalone story. But other than some phrasing I really liked in the story, I could just say fuck off. Maybe put that on my website as a story unfinished. You know, just hey, this is the writing process, and this is what a dud looks like, but in an engaging dud.
Yeah,
one you'll still like, but then you get to the ending well, that was dumb. Waste of fucking time. But that was a disappointment. I end up going to a story I was already writing, but put off to write other stuff for other anthologies. And I'm happy I actually went back to that one because it was an idea I really enjoyed. And I was able to, the Christmas theme actually gave me the catalyst to finish it because I didn't know how I was going to tie this story together. Like, what was the overarching narrative structure? Like, why are these people getting tortured? Like, I basically just had people in a room with fucking dirt pouring on them and maggots and shit, and I didn't have a reason for it. But then the Yuletide stuff gave me a reason. But I'm excited about that, and as we talked off air, like I just brought up, I have no engagements now. No prior engagements need to be fulfilled. Everything's done. So now I can focus on just writing what I want to write.
Yep.
We discussed some of my other stories I'm thinking about reworking. So I have an old DPW story that was supposed to be for the collection called A Stranger's Foot, where it is a Japanese monster story. Not a Godzilla type monster, more like a mythical spirit monster kind of thing. You know, like the weird folklore shit. Yeah. So I have a story that's like, I looked today, it's almost 12,000 words. So the only anthology that I could find that it might fit under is a creature feature with a 10K word limit. So I think my next project is the same thing I did with the Dead Men Don't Scream. I am going to go back and edit that to see if it's worthwhile. Because I've edited so many times before, it shouldn't need much. But I could probably shave it down a little to get it into that word count range. And then maybe I'll be able to get it into that creature feature, which was from Hellbound Books.
Ooh.
It's a cool name.
Yeah.
They only paid $5 though. That's terrible for that kind of story. But I don't know what else I would do with that story, so I'll take the $5 just to be in a cool book.
Yeah.
It sucks that we're at the pathetic stage of society where creators are just like literally, I'll take the exposure. Yeah. It's like, no, I'm creating, I've taken you take months to write something. You should get paid for that to be in a book that's selling. But we're in such an oversaturated market now in a medium that most people don't imbibe in anymore. Yeah. So what do we get? We get, if you're lucky, $5.
Right.
Like I said,
that's like a quarter of a cent a word.
Yeah, for anyone who's interested in the whole fiction writing, because if you're a freelance writer, which I did before, you make a lot more money. You can make thousands a month if you're really good at it, or if you're just very prolific. But as far as writing fiction and trying to submit that places until you're a name, so you're on our level, this guy's really trying to break into it. If you're submitting to anthologies and magazines and stuff, the pay rate, my highest payment so far was $64 for a story. That was my Dark Home story, which was 10,000 words. My technical highest pay was for like a 1,200 word story, which is $125. But I haven't received that yet because it hasn't been published yet. So, and I have no idea. It's been over a year. So I have no idea when that's coming out or if it is coming out. If it doesn't come out, I never get paid.
Right.
So that's very disappointing. But if it does come out, then that would be my highest pay for a story, which for a 1,200 word story or whatever that was, that's good money.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good money. But on the basic side, like if you're getting into decent stuff, generally for, let's say, a 5,000 word story, you're probably looking at $50 would be a good payment.
That would be nice.
$50 to $150. If you're getting into more established things, more like $150. If you're getting into the New Yorker and stuff, I'm thinking it's upwards of $400 to $500. At least last I checked, which was years ago. I know people think, well, it's the New Yorker, they should pay thousands. They're not. Because again, are people really reading the New Yorker as much? No, not really. So if you could sell your work for anything higher, do it. But I've not had too much success making a lot of money doing this. I mean, like the one I'm in now, the Dark or the Dragon Soul Press, they pay a royalty rate, 30% royalty rate. So I get a year's worth of royalties at the end of the year. So as we said before, if that makes, 100,000 sales on that book, I make a good chunk.
Yeah.
If it sells 5 copies of it, I make nothing.
Well, that goes into the, the argument of what we've had many times before on this podcast is like especially once you get to a certain level of what you believe your work quality is, of like, it's tempting of just like, I'll just, self-publish, put out myself.
Yeah.
And then, so whatever money you can make off, you're making,
100% profit.
Right, yeah.
Well, the downside to that is, and which
all the work and time and effort and...
Yeah, it's unlikely unless I mean some people get lucky, but one, we suck at promotion. We're not
Oh,
social media guys.
terrible.
So
Nobody would see it. Nobody would know that
yeah,
it's out.
going that route, you just can keep selling to your brother. Like,
Yeah.
like that's not cool. Like you're only selling to family and friends. So
Buy another 5 copies.
yeah, that's fucking lame. So you're talking and selling to strangers. It's hard to get into, and even if you're good at that, some of the top end independent, the indie authors I see, at least that I follow and talk with, if they sell a couple hundred copies, they're very happy, and that's a good chunk of change. You
Yeah.
figure. So let's say their book's $12. You know you're making over $1,200 for your book, but then if you hired an editor, cheap editors $500. One that actually does full edits is usually over $1,000. If you're doing all the stuff yourself and you know how to do the formatting and stuff, like the printing costs and everything, let's just be generous and say to put out a really good product, it's probably a $3,000 endeavor, I would say, to put out your own like novel.
That'd probably seem about right.
Yeah, like if you're hiring an editor, especially if you're paying someone to do the cover art, if you're paying for a formatter and stuff, but a lot of people do that themselves. I don't know what you have to pay Amazon for their services, but then you have to buy the books. There's a lot of costs that go into it. I mean, I'm sure you can get away with like a under $1,500 book, $1,000 book. But again,
then it goes into the quality.
Yeah, and like I always say, like the quality for one, you don't want to sacrifice, but the main thing is like the editing. That I think that would be the one you want to spend the money on. If you know an editor who could discount you, that'd be great.
Yeah,
but you don't want just a spelling grammar. That's the thing. I think a lot of people where their faults lie. They go, I just need the grammar stuff and the spelling and stuff. And it's like, okay, that's fine. And you can get away maybe only spending. So, I mean, I've seen freelance editors like, oh, $300. I'll do $150.
Yeah.
I'll just do spelling and grammar. And it's like, okay. I mean, that's what Grammarly does, but
yeah.
Okay, you could do that, and hopefully you don't miss too many, because usually even the best editors still miss stuff. I mean, I've seen professional books.
With fucking typos in it.
Yeah, so reprints from 100 years, and it's like, why did they never take this fucking thing, this typo out? But even so, like, I think the important thing is to get an actual edit where it's like, hey, this plot point doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Or, hey, did you realize you changed the eye color from blue to brown? Or did you know that this character was interested in this character, and then later you confused the names and now you have them interested in the wrong, like things like that, especially if you're doing a series.
Yeah,
easy to fucking mess up stuff, even if you do a story bible or a character what do they call those,
the character sheets and stuff.
Yeah, even if you do those, you could still fuck up. Like, I'm sure if I gone back to, well, fuck, I could tell you just from going through a 1,500 word story, I've gone back and be like, wow, I didn't even realize I fucked that up, and I edited this 14 times now, and I didn't realize until this one time that I, used the wrong word, or I had the wrong guy speaking when he wasn't supposed to, or something. Like simple things like that, you need some professional eyes on.
Especially like if you're writing something bigger, and longer, that'll take you time, and even after like editing, like. You start one editing pass. By the time you get done, it's like could be another couple weeks or whatever. You know what I mean? So
now, if you're doing a short story collection, I think you could get away without having those advanced edits.
Yeah,
because at least for me, I trust myself to know that if I'm doing a short story, I'm thorough enough that I'm not gonna have those problems. And honestly, I could probably do a short story collection. Like if it was my stories, I don't think I would worry about the typos even, because again, I'm very thorough, but that's short stories. That's because one story I've gone through so much. Now, if I want to do a short story collection that's all news stories, I'm writing for that, and it's got to be out next year. No, then I have to hire an editor because I'm not going to have enough time to do the proper edits. But like if it's old stories or stories that I've already had published, that's gone through. That's what's nice about this.
Yeah.
If you use stories that are published, they've already gone through an editing team, or at least they should have.
Right.
I mean, hopefully. Like I think everything I've had accepted for the most part have gone through edits, but there's a couple I know I've gotten into some cheaper ones that are like, usually like some of the online ones, they don't have an editing team. It's probably just some guy like me.
Yeah.
He's just like, fuck it, I'm tired. So,
well, that's what you had to do when we had the website and we had submissions.
Yeah.
You just fucking edited this thing that they already submitted.
Yeah, I would edit their work, sometimes give suggestions, sometimes just minor changes. But one thing I know about that, going through pulling old stories off there and looking at them now, I see a lot of fuck ups. Like just my stories.
Oh, yeah.
Like just because back then, We didn't have the Grammarly
Mm.
on the WordPress, so it didn't give you the basic typos. So sometimes they got through. Usually the typos that get me aren't actually misspellings of the word. It's using, the word that has multiple multiple spellings. You think like there, like something like that. So I could use a word and I accidentally, just for whatever reason, just used the wrong word. So it's still a correct word that the spell check wouldn't even get because it's spelled right, but it's just not the right word. I hate that. It fucking drives me nuts. But that's some of the ones that I found over the years where it's just like, God, but I have found actual typos in those old DPW ones.
Oh, I'm sure.
And I'm just like cringe, like, oh my God, people read this, they commented on this, they liked the story, but look at this horse shit. It's like when Mike, he said he liked that Dead Men Don't Scream, the old version I had on DPW before I rewrote it for the Dragon Soul Press. And when I went back and read that, I was like, ooh, I kept crazy, like, how did I miss so much? It's like this. Somebody read this and they said they liked it. They had to be just being nice.
Yeah.
Like maybe the story, but that was like straight amateur hour. I looked at that. I was like, I fucking sucked. I can't believe, like, it is crazy to think like how far we've come since we started. 10 feet.
10 feet. Hey, it's 10 feet farther.
Let's talk about the Spoogin.
Oh.
Double entendre. But yeah,
that's impressive then.
We have made some progress with the writing, but there's always stuff you could work on.
No,
I always try to work on shit.
I mean, that's even like, even said, in a previous episode, in a Murakami episode, that I'm not exactly sure, coming out after this?
No.
Yeah, it would be after, because it'd be the Friday, or before.
No, it comes out this Friday, so yesterday. Okay. Tomorrow's episode is last week's episode.
Yeah. So, but we were talking about, like, Stephen King, sometimes there's like those kind of people less than on the thing, but I've also heard them doing talks and things and stuff of being like, even though that they've done it for decades, that there's still things that they can improve upon.
Yeah.
That's the thing with art in general, it doesn't matter the medium, there's always improvement, or there should always hopefully be striding for improvement.
Now, I would like your opinion on this, because this is where we differ as writers. Because I am always more into like the language, and I'm interested in different experimental things.
Mm-hmm.
So when you look at writing, like we were talking about growing as an artist, one thing I appreciate in certain authors when they go through like their phases. So you think of like artists like, he was in his blue phase, he was in his postmodern phase, he was in his abstract phase. But authors do that too. Some go into, like, Cormac McCarthy's a good example. You have Blood Meridian and The Road. Completely different.
Yeah.
The style, everything about those books are completely different. And that's what I appreciate, because some authors, even going back to Haruki Murakami or Stephen King, though Stephen King is a genre bender, which is nice, but like Haruki Murakami, you don't, like in the writing, I don't know if it's just because translations or whatever, but it's always the same writing. Stephen King, for the most part, everything I've read, the genres could be different and the story he's telling are different. So if he's doing a hard crime, it's going to be more that kind of style. But the actual writing is still always Stephen King. It's not like, Stephen King is doing Alan Moore, James Joyce impression or something.
Right.
Or like he's trying his hand at something very experimental. And I haven't gone through all his work, so I can't, judge him as much as I could judge Murakami. But, like, okay, let's look at...
You can still, like, when we get into, like, when we've talked before, like, whenever you're reading something, you can kind of tell, like, oh, this is written by, like, this is, like, a Neil Gaiman story, this is a Stephen King story, like...
Well, let's look at a writer that I'm very familiar with, who's one of the greatest of all time, in my opinion, John Steinbeck.
Yeah.
I've read most of his work, his style, and you can even say the same thing about Hemingway. It doesn't change, really. There's not, like, these experimental things, but I like when artists experiment. So what do you think about a writer, like, say, okay, right now I'm in my lyrical Celtic phase and I'm writing a bunch of stories that are more lyrical and fanciful in the language, but then maybe next year I go into more of a dystopian, The Road style, very plain language, very bold, very, 1, 2, 3 word sentences, a lot of those and things like that. Then maybe the year after I go into David Foster Wallace blocks of text phase. Like, do you think that is a good thing for an author to get into and have the various works, even though they might be sacrificing a stable audience?
I think it's a good, like we talk, the two-belt and being able to do all those different kind of things is a good thing to be able to do. I think that all depends on your level.
Yeah.
You know, like the Stephen King, the Murakami's, all that. They can afford to be, you know, to experiment, like, you know, a little bit
Does
more.
that make you mad that they don't? Because they have the ability, like they have obviously the writing capability. They're skilled enough they could experiment.
Yeah.
And they have the financial stability that if they do their version of a Ulysses, they don't have to worry about going bankrupt or that ruins their career because they're already cemented.
Yeah, a little bit.
Would you like to see Stephen King write a fucking wild Robert E. Howard sword and sorcery style story? That kind of language, out of his element, just some wild shit.
I think it would be interesting. Yeah, I think it definitely would be interesting. But I think that also goes into the, you know, you kind of like you write what the stories that you want to, you know, that you want to read kind of thing. Maybe like that's what it falls into, you know, it's like, you know, I don't know what Stephen King likes. I'm sure he probably enjoyed those, like those pulp, Conan kind of stories.
Yeah, he said he loved the pulp stuff.
But he might not feel like, you know, I enjoy those, but like, he's like, maybe he doesn't feel like I could do a good job of writing those. So maybe he doesn't want to, you know.
Well, we've gotten his take on Lovecraft works.
Yeah.
He's done that a few times where he has not just Lovecraft elements, just like a Lovecraft story, but it doesn't read anything like a Lovecraft story. So he doesn't actually try the style of Lovecraft, just the, you know, the cosmic.
Like the elements kind of.
It's like I said, a genre bender. He likes to write in any genre.
Yeah.
Neil Gaiman is similar, but he has a very Neil Gaiman. You read it, it's Neil Gaiman.
Yeah.
But where I appreciate Alan Moore's writing, even though some of it's very dense and hard, is he has no problems experimenting. So he could do. I could see out of any writer I've read, like contemporary writers, I could see Alan Moore doing a Blood Meridian and The Road. Like I could see him being able to do both.
Right.
I can't see a Stephen King or a Neil Gaiman doing those. I think they could both do The Road.
Yeah.
I don't see them doing a Blood Meridian or a Moby Dick. I don't know too many contemporary writers who can, and I'm not just saying it has to be some kind of complicated, hard to fuck it. I'm just talking more about something that is not on the market.
Right.
Like when Blood Meridian came out, there wasn't another Blood Meridian you could pick up.
Yeah.
There wasn't something that was like, oh shit, this is an anti-Western written like Moby Dick. Like you didn't see that. But you've seen, you know, how many The Shinings out there.
Yeah.
Not the same story, but stories told like that.
Right.
Like there's countless stories. So where I get into it, and I'm not anywhere near capable of doing this stuff.
Yeah.
But what I like is the idea of, and again, sacrificing a possible stable readership, because especially if you're not established, it's going to be hard to get a stable readership if you're constantly changing.
Well, that's what that was going to be my other thing, because that was going to be my other point was like, you know, when you have a bigger following and stuff like that, you have the ability to do that. But starting out, you're still trying to get your footing or a following. Not saying that you shouldn't write those kind of things. Like you said, it's going to be harder to try to get like a steady base if you're trying to cast out 5 fishing rods instead of just maybe like 1 or 2. You'd think, oh, more rods, more fish,
but you can't reel them all in.
You can't reel them all in, and then the lines get fucking jambled and stuff like that.
What I like to do is, as you said earlier, I like to write what I would want to read. So
I think that's like kind of like the main thing for the most part.
Yeah, if you're writing what you enjoy, you can't go wrong unless you're one of those people who are so lame that nobody likes what you like.
Right.
You're one of those fucking contrarians who are like, oh, I hate everything everybody else likes, so I got to be so unique that everything I write is completely original, but it's also shit.
Yeah.
I've read stuff like that where it's like, nobody likes this. There's like 3 people on the planet that like this, and it's not even about selling. It's just about getting people to read your work. As I've always said, and I've said this to people, many writers who I try to reel back into the state of reality, because sometimes delusion takes us out of reality where we think, oh, I'm just going to write and do all this stuff. But it's like, yeah, but you have to remember, you need readers.
Yeah.
What is the point of writing
without readers?
Yeah, you could write the most experimental.
I mean, unless if you're just doing it for yourself.
Yeah,
which is one thing, but then like that's a completely different topic of like what kind of like what we're talking about. If you're just like one of those people like, I just write it and I put it off to the side, I don't really plan on doing anything with it, but it's just something I like to do, then fine, do whatever you want to. But again, like whenever you're trying to grow an audience,
yeah, I mean, if it's cathartic or therapeutic or whatever, yeah, go ahead and do that. But if you're trying to like, I want to be a writer, I want to, not even famous. Like we've talked about, I just want a middling.
Yeah.
I want to be able to pay the bills
Yeah.
writing and not have to have another job.
Well, it'd be nice to be like, you could actually like go to a convention and you wouldn't have to worry about like not selling anything.
Yeah.
like you'd have like, I could maybe at least sell a couple books. Like,
Yeah, that wouldn't be so bad. A lot of people, they get so delusional that they're just like, oh, I'm going to be great. I'm going to do all this stuff. They forget the fact that they need readers first.
yeah.
So they end up alienating their readers. When we had Miette on from Whiskey Tit last year, whenever that was, I remember her saying something along the lines. I think she was talking about like romance books or like whatever sells the most, because she's a publisher, so she knows. But whatever sells the most, she said something along the lines of, well, we can all write that stuff. We know the formula. Like we could write these best-selling shit books that suburban housewives, buy at the grocery store. For me, I still don't want to sacrifice the art to just be a James Patterson, I mean, it'd be awesome to be rich from writing. Like that's the obvious, like that's the dream. But at the same time, I still want to create things that would last.
Now, what about, okay, you said the James Patterson, but what would you do if you were the other side of the James Patterson book, where you're the guy that's basically writing the book, and then James Patterson is putting his name overshadowed. Like, your name's still on the book. It's just like 10th the size of, James Patterson with Caleb James K in the quote. Like, you know what I mean? Would you be okay with that?
I'd go by a different pseudonym and just, that would be just for money.
Yeah.
Yeah. That'd be like, my name is Dick Hertz and I'm writing erotica. Like, that would just be strictly monetary. I would not promote that.
No.
I mean, unless I really thought it was a good book.
But I mean, like, he pretty much let you write the whole thing. He might have some like slight edits, but he basically, gave you the outline, and then he's just like, you got to do whatever you wanted. Like, so like the actual writing of the thing, you got to do what you wanted to do.
No, I don't want it. I mean, I don't want to be associated with James Patterson.
Well, not James Patterson, but like then there's pseudo,
Okay, I have a co-written book with Richard Chismar, but
Yeah.
Richard Chismar actually didn't write anything in it.
Yeah.
I would do it, but I don't think I'd feel good about it.
No? Not even once you saw that paycheck come in?
The paychecks, like I said, that's just monetary. I'd be down for the money, but okay, imagine this. Okay, you said you wrote the thing, you did what you wanted to do.
Yeah.
So for whatever reason, James Patterson let you write the spy thriller in the style of, I don't know, The Great Gatsby.
Okay, yeah, just something weird.
Something, yeah, and you wrote it in that style, and not only to become a bestseller, it's considered one of the greatest novels of all time.
It's gonna
The top, you want to
Patterson
pull,
is gonna get the credit for it.
yeah, it's nominated for a Pulitzer Prize. It's fucking. It completely subverts the whole spy genre into something different, and it becomes literary masterpiece. It's art, and who is top billing? James Patterson.
Yeah.
Fuck that dude. That would suck ass. That's like the AI story you were talking about, where you teach the AI and the AI writes a masterpiece, and then you claim it.
Yeah.
Like, you're gonna feel like shit. I mean, if you have a soul of any kind. I know there's a lot of AI artists, quote unquote, who just type in prompts and win awards. Fuck you. I'm sorry, you're not an artist.
There's been a lot of that leaking into like the comic book stuff. Like even like these people were doing like it was a guy who was doing a Superman cover.
Imagine you could do filler pages and stuff with that.
And there was like 2 S's on the, and like it made it past like the editor and everything. Like nobody noticed until like, I can't remember if it actually got published or it just got like, solicited, and somebody saw like, the cover was just like, that does not look right. That looks like AI art. Like,
I hate it. I mean, that's a topic for another day. We actually should devote an episode to AI art and how it's just fucking... Because we talked about, like... I think when Obregon was on, we talked about that Japanese writer who said 5% of her book was written by AI. Like
maybe, I think so, yeah.
And she won, like, a big award. She won whatever big award, and she talked about it afterwards. And I just think, fuck you. Like, it would be interesting, though. So, because AI goes by established... writers usually, so you could write this book in the style of Stephen King. What if Stephen King did that? He came up with the idea and he just he fed it into the AI and hey, write this like Stephen King, and he is Stephen King.
Well, that's like I can't remember. I think it was on another podcast I was listening to, and I think it was like a musician who like got sick and kind of like I think he could like talk, but he couldn't like sing. but he could still write his music. But then
Hit AI.
Yeah, so they just put all of his stuff in AI and was able to use that
Replicate his voice.
for the songs that he wrote.
Yeah.
And then I was like, is that okay?
Yeah, I would say it is because it's still the artist doing it, but then that's where it does get murky because, okay, so we can agree that if I type into an AI art prompt and it comes up with a new superhero, fuck you, that's not your superhero.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, you said you want him to have this color, tights, and all this shit, but the AI drew it. You didn't draw it. What if that person who did that was severely disabled and paralyzed? Stephen Hawking.
Yeah.
Straight up Stephen Hawking. Can't move, but they could talk into the AI generator. So they have the ideas in their head, but they have no physical way of doing it, and they use the AI to make their vision come to life.
Right, yeah, that's
murky now. Yeah. But then again, are they using other people's art to cobble that together? Because that's what it uses.
Right, yeah.
It's not like it's going to be original art. Now, if that person was an artist before they got paralyzed and they could use their own art, like, hey, cobble it together in the style of Spencer Dick Cheese Church.
Yeah.
Whatever your name is, the Gooch guy.
Yeah.
The Gooch Glazer. That's questionable. I still don't like it, but I can see the uses for it. But I hate the fucking tech bros who want to replace artists and writers and creative people with a fucking faster, more efficient. Fuck you. It's not supposed to be fast and efficient. It's supposed to be something from an actual human, from their fucking heart, from their soul, from the muse. It's supposed to be something real, not some fucking, not numbers.
Yeah.
You know, not just some shit algorithm.
Well, what I hope is just kind of, because like if you see people more doing that, and I think like Valiant, their new version of that, got in some hot water because they were like open like, oh, we're using AI art for like something or other, and people were like, well, fuck you, I'm not buying your book then. Like, so I think they kind of drew back from that. Well, I hope it gets to the point to where people they use it enough and people fight back of like, no, this isn't what I want. You know what I mean? And and then they they do the you vote with your wallet and we'll stop, getting whatever product it is that, is being generated with the AI.
No, I don't have a problem with AI being used for like low end things. Like when I do like one of those promo videos, I just like use the AI generator to come up with usually just like either like a background image, like a scenic scene, like a castle or something, or like a character. But those are like 30-second videos, and I don't do those all the time. But
and then you're not making money off of those.
No, that's the big thing. I'm not making money off of those because people are always like, "Why don't you hire you hire a real artist to do it?" Because I'm not going to spend $500 to have an artist do one picture when I need 10 or 15 pictures for a 60-second video that makes me no money or anything. It's just to promote something. And now, if I was doing a book cover, I would never use AI for a book cover. I would fucking hire somebody, or at least have a friend that I know is an artist do it or something. But like, no, I'm going to pay somebody to do it because that's something that I'm going to sell.
Right. I mean, and that would, the only way that I would ever use AI like is if I'm like trying to get my ideas together.
Yeah.
And you'd be like, put it whatever in, and then you give it to that artist, be like, look, I don't want to look exactly like this, but this is what I was thinking.
Again, using it as a tool.
Do your thing, but this was like this was kind of like the vision I had in my head. But, take and do it yourself, though,
Yeah. Before we go too far into this AI bullshit and get mad, I think we should end it. Yeah. I'm hungry.
Yeah.
I need some goddamn meat in my mouth.
Damn right you do.
If you want to check us out on the internet, at DPW Podcast on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and X. You could follow Spencer. He's the Gatlinburg Gooch Glazer on OnlyFans. Whatever he's doing there. Glazing them. Maybe like a Krispy Kreme donut. You're just putting that coating
just with a
sugar.
With a paintbrush.
Yeah. Just spooge looking syrup. And you can follow me.
Where we at Cheddar's again?
Don't ask people. You can follow us at CalebJamesK.com. Not us, just me. CalebJamesK.com. That's where I post work that I haven't been posting, but I do keep up with my publishing history. So any of my stories that have made me money or are things that I'm proud to have people read, you can go right to my publishing page, and I have just a bunch of links. Click on them. And the only one that's disabled now is the PA Bards because they stopped selling it.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I don't know why, but I clicked on it and it does. The Amazon link is broken. Couldn't find any other way to buy it, but I only have one poem in it, and I don't really give a shit. But I will probably, if I didn't already, put it up for free. Maybe I'll just do that on the website. I don't really care. I did the reading. I know there's a video of it somewhere. But anyway, we thank you for listening. We'll check you out next week.